So, welcome to attaching feeders. As I mentioned before, this section of track from here, well, these two, all the way around to, all the way around to here, I laid the track, and when I didn't attach feeders to the bottom like I normally do, because I wanted to really control the curvature well. And sometimes when feeders are on the bottom and you try and push it through, it forces the track. So now I need to lay feeders. What I like to do is I like to lay feeders every no more than a section of track. That's 36 inches if you're using flex track, other than Atlas, which is only 30 inches. So in order to do that, I'm going to lay one here and another section here, which will divide it up into less than 24 inches between feeders. Now that takes it to there. This one already has this guy has a feeder that's a little bit further up, and I'll install different feeders in this removable section that's down here. So all I care about is feeding these two guys. So a cut about here and a cut about there should do it. In order to do this, let me grab a pencil. And I'm just doing it by eye, so I figure the halfway mark's there. I want to do one about there because I want to kind of break it into thirds, so I'm just looking at it and saying, yeah, that's a good spot right there. And I'll just mark that across. And the other one I said is about there. Now, before I drill, I'm going to feel under the table to make sure, yeah, I'm clear of everything. There's a brace going along here, and I'm clear of it there. And on this side, yep, I'm clear of it there. So don't forget to do that. I have a 3/32 bit drill in here. The reason it's 3/32, it's a tiny bit wider than my feeder wire. And importantly to me is it fits between the ties, so I can drill a hole on the outside between the ties. I have 1 inch foam here and 1/4 inch plywood under it. So that's what I need to get through. I'm just going to redo. Now, you can attach them directly opposite. I like to offset them a little bit, but just a couple of ties. So we'll go 1, 2 tie offset. Now we'll go 3, what the heck. Same here, 1, 2, 3 tie offset. And then I'll just clean that with a vacuum cleaner. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff under the table, and one of these days I'll get that all cleaned out too. But for now, that just cleans it all up. And I have a special tool here, just a piece of track. And I'll just make sure that those go all the way through fine. Because I'm going through foam and wood, and that one didn't seem to want to go quite through, so I'll re-drill. Just to make sure. Okay, that's through fine. 1, 2, 3, should be right there. Yeah, that one's not happy either. Now, yes, I could use a bit bigger bit, but if I use a bigger bit, then, there, that's okay. Then I have the issue of I'm going to start drilling out the ties, or have to do it beside the ties. Next up, how long should your wire be? This is, let's see, it should say a 22 gauge solid. And the question is, but how long do I want it? Somewhere between 8 and 12 inches is my guideline. So I happen to have a ruler here. We will cut it off at 8 inches. So once I insert that through the inch and the 1.25 inches and take, I'm going to have about this much of it, or about 5, close to 6 inches underneath the table that I can play around with. And we got 2 pieces that I need. You can, once you have a piece, it's pretty easy to just match them up like this, and then cut the next piece. And we don't care how exact it is. It matters not in this thing. It's you know, 1/2 inch out here or there. Who cares? You're going to end up likely trimming some off the bottom anyway, because once you solder it to the bottom, as I'll show in future, you may find you want to cut some off, or you may just decide to wrap it. The reason you need to keep them short, though, is being narrow gauge wires, they won't conduct current as well as your bus, which is a 14 or a 16 gauge. So don't make them too long. That's another reason why we space them out like this, is because if they are too far apart, there's going to be too much current draw through them and they won't be able to perform appropriately. So now that we've got these cut, we need to strip the ends of the wires. I bought this. It is marvelous. I'm going to set it for, because I can do this, a 3/8 of an inch. See what that looks like. Maybe a little long. We'll try it first. Now what I do with this is I'll go ahead and bend the wire. There's 2 things I want to do. I want to bend the wire sideways like that, 90-degree bend, and then bend it a little that way. The idea being, let me grab a piece of track here, right here. What I want this to do is to be able to come and nestle in the side of the track like that. So I have a little piece that sticks that way and the rest is bent over so that it will clear the bottom section and go straight down. This one actually needs to be bent a little bit more than this. I'll try it in front of me. Okay, so there you can see the little piece bent. If I look at it on the end, you can see how it's bent over. And if I grab the piece of track here and put it in, you might, well, this camera's going to focus on this, and it's white so it's hard to see, so I'll move it around a bit. Maybe you can see how it fits in there. Then what we do is, remember, red to the outside. We drop this through like that, a little bend to hold it. We'll do the next one, red one as well. Any pliers will work for this kind of thing. And the amount of bending, you just need to do it a few times and you'll get that figured out. And so flux. So we'll grab this, a little bit of flux on the inside of the rail there. There's a couple of ways of doing this. I inserted these. Normally I don't insert them first. Normally I do my tinning first, but I don't attach the wire to the rail and solder it. Rather, I tin the rail and I tin the wire first. So let me just show you this. Try and go in so that you can see here. Okay, that's all it takes to tin. It's just a little bit of solder in there. If you got a big blob on, you got too much. Should be just enough to barely fill the rail. And you don't need to leave it on there long enough to melt anything. Okay, then tin your wires. Okay, so everything's tinned. For the most part, solder now goes away. Unless you need to do a little bit of fix-up, you don't need that anymore. And what you do now is you bend the wire so that it will nicely contact where you want. And I have here another magic tool, skewer. Bring the wire down. Make sure that it's cooled. You may want to use a pair of pliers to do this. Get the wire down, get the wire in place. Yes, it's a bit finicky, I know. Now, because I bent the wire with a curvature like that, it's right against the track. Position it where I want it. Grab the soldering iron. Go in and push it in. That's all it takes. That's soldered in there now. Now we'll bend the red one the way it needs to be bent. And we'll get it down there. Now sometimes you can also go underneath the table and hold it. In either case, I'm pulling on under the table to make sure everything's okay and everything's great. While I'm here, let's solder in this other red one. Make sure I got my curve all set up right. And then let's do the black one. Okay. Now, we're not quite done yet. One more step. 99% rubbing alcohol, a toothbrush, and yeah, just a piece of whatever. All I'll do is I'll unscrew the cap, put the toothbrush in, and now I'm going to clean all in here. Because we used flux. I want to make sure that I clean any residual flux out of there. And then you want to block that away, because if you don't, it will absorb into the glue and your track will loosen. It'll reset, but it'll loosen for a bit there. The last thing you may want to do is take a look at these, and if the wire sticks out a bit on it, you can go ahead with a pair of pliers and just crimp it in. what you end up
There is
with.
a red one. There is a red one. The black one is there. The black one is there. So what you need to notice about this is it's a nice silvery joint. It's hardly visible. When I paint on these guys, you won't see anything at all. And you can see there's a little bit of solder on top. And I'll go ahead and I'll remove that little bit of solder on top with just with a track cleaner. It'll take it off.